Howdy dowdy, greetings, and hear ye, y'all. Welcome to the Royal Key. So this will be my first King's List. And today's King's List will be about The Real World Homecoming. Woo! So for those of y'all who don't know, Paramount Pictures, Paramount Plus, came out with their new subscription app, and it has all of like the MTV, Nickelodeon, CBS, and like other things. I guess I should have read and looked up more of that. But those are the only three networks that I really watch on there. And I watch a lot of shows on there. So I was like, let me go ahead and make sure. I already had CBS All Access, so it just transferred over to that. So Paramount Plus is reintroducing The Real World Homecoming, or reintroducing The Real World in general. And their first season of Homecoming was their very first season that takes back all the way to like 1992 of The Real World, the first New York, I guess. I'm not really that familiar with The Real World. I watch more of The Challenge nowadays than I did Real World. Like, I think that first and foremost, so The Real World was like one of the very first reality TV shows, in that way. Very much so pioneers to reality TV game. But I'm more so of a basketball wives, Real Housewife, like Love and Hip Hop used to be type of big. So The Real World was cute, but it wasn't really all that for me back then. My reality TV shows came out like 2009, 2007, aside from like Big Brother that came out in like 2000. But nonetheless, it was really nice to see sort of like an OG cast come back and do a reunion type special, because I think that that's very rare where they have first and foremost, like if all the cast members are alive still, because this isn't like a 10-year thing, this is like 29 years ago. So this is long ago. So to have the original cast still in good health, with the exception of one person, I'm gonna get to that later, and still in good spirits, like with one another. They had like a good rapport, like everybody was talking, kikiing. But it's always a kiki when it's a reunion. We never get in the nitty gritty as soon as we meet up with each other, because we want to be like, all right, let me see how this person moves first. So before I pop off, let me see how you rocking. Oh, okay, you good today? I'm gonna be good today. But the moment you try it, I'm popping out. So something that I immediately looked at, so I've never seen The Real World, so I'm rewatching it now so I can sort of like prep myself a little bit more for Homecoming. But disclaimer, you don't need to actually watch the original season of Real World. But if you love reality TV like I do, and you don't mind, and you want to know all the nitty gritty, like the nuances of who this person like, and who probably clicked after camera and behind cameras, and who didn't really click, and who never really meshed from the beginning, like I am, then watch it. But if not, they do a lot of like recaps and flashbacks, so it sort of shows you like the parallels of them. But yeah, one of the first things that I noticed that was like a little like, this is definitely in the 90s, is that it was a cast of 7. So if you don't unfamiliar with Real World, it's a cast of like 7. I want to say 7, maybe it's 8 or 9, like later on down the line. But like start off at 7. There's a story about 7 strangers picked to live in a house. 5 of these people was white. And they picked 2 black people, a man and a woman, that's it. Like, this is our diversity quota. And I think that also still stands with how people are casting nowadays. Like, let's make sure we get our majority white cast. Let's make sure we sprinkle a little 1 or 2 black people, Big Brother, and other shows. It's not just Big Brother. It's a lot of these competition reality shows. But anyway, off that soapbox, back to, So one of the things that I also love about, one, that it's the OG cast, and 2, that like it's Real World, is that it's like, it strays away from, these people were doing reality TV before reality TV was before reality TV was even a thing. So it's like before the big personalities like, Tiffany Pollard, Nene Leakes, like Jocelyn Hernandez, like all these other people too. But those are some of my like notable key people in my mind. Like before all these people came on the scene, like people were they thought that this was going to be a documentary about them being artists. So like, this one girl was a rapper, this one guy was a poet, there were a few people who played guitar, somebody was in the band, they just thought, okay, they're doing a documentary, which a lot of these reality TV shows, their first season, they never really share, okay, this is what you're getting casted for, because they want that like organic, they want that organic, authentic piece. So they're at the forefront. So, you know, if you tell somebody they're gonna be on Real Housewives of New York or Real Housewives of Atlanta or Real Housewives of Houston, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I'm about to come in there. You gonna know who I am. I know everything about Texas. I'm this and that. But if you tell people, oh, this is just a story about, and people pay up to what you say, because like Real Housewives of Dallas, they thought that they were going to be on the show talking about philanthropy and stuff like that, which is why so much of the first season they talked about like service and stuff like that. And same with like Potomac, things like that. Like they think that they are being cast as a one thing, so they play up that thing, and like their real personality comes out. So while they thought that this was going to be a documentary about them being artists, like their personalities came out. So let's get into it. So the cast is Julie, Norman, Andre, Rebecca, Eric, and then my two favorites, Kevin and Heather B. Like I said, 5 white people, 2 black people. So I'm rooting for the black people automatically already. Didn't even really watch the show. Hope they wasn't too problematic in the TBT. But I'm rooting for them when they come in. And they definitely bring the energy. It's really nice seeing everybody mesh. And it was really cute how they aired the episode. So, and I saw the first 4 episodes before I saw this. And it's like the way that they're coming into the loft in New York is sort of the same way that they reintroduced them in the reunion. And if y'all know me, y'all know I'm big on nostalgia and things like that and things that just click and work. And I was just like, how sweet. And something that they also talked about is like, you know, they didn't have no reference. They didn't have no blueprint. It was just, baby, what you see is what you get. I'm not trying to be the next Nene to do. I don't even know who those people are. And like, I think that a lot of people don't really know. This is my first time knowing who the OGs of the Real World were. Like, I thought that Tammy was the first person on Real World. So I need to see what season she on. I thought she was like one of the first black girls on Real World, because people a lot of times talk about give Tammy her props and stuff like that for being a personality and stuff like that. And I think, baby, it's the tea of this show. So first and foremost, like I said, Heather and Kevin are my favorite. That's the 2 black people. They made a clip and they talked about how the show really wanted to be revolved around, which I don't know, that could definitely be their perspective. And it also can very much so be true, because we're talking about MTV, we're talking about the 90s, and we're just talking about just in general, this happens now, of like, you know, the 2 cute white people, like that's who our main attention is gonna go to, that's who gonna get the camera time, that's who gonna get the storyline, or that's whose storyline we're gonna follow. Like everybody else, like it's cool, it's cute, you're part of the ensemble cast, whatever you cast B-mates, we gonna make sure we focus on them. And they brought that up. And I think that what's interesting about the reunion is they have a lot of tensions and things that they talked about are things that happened when they originally was on air and stuff like that. And like it's been like 29 years ago. So I doubt people were really like, oh, let me, like, you know, in between every year, every 5. I'm that type of person though. But I doubt people were like, oh, like recapping. All that to say that. So yeah, like, you know, I doubt people were really recapping what happened 29 years ago. So a lot of these things they never really talked about, because they went back onto their lives. Like their lives blew up. A lot of them talked about like fame and like what to do with this newfound fame. And like, once again, a contrast to reality TV now, the girls going into these reality TV shows are already like some type of influencers, are already like doing something, are already trying to be notable and be famous and all this and that. Like everybody want to be an actor and model and all these types of things, and they just had one model on the original Real World cast. And even then, like he talked about, like, you know, oh my gosh, people expect us influencers to be da da da. And let me tell you about how he's so drama. His name Eric, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, Eric. Nice they call him. He the only one that's gonna contract COVID. So they, prior to filming the reunion, they were, and like a lot of reality television shows now, like they're getting COVID tested every week. Production team is getting COVID tested. They're isolating, they're quarantining for like 2 or so weeks to make sure, all right, so you don't have the disease or you don't have the virus, so we gonna keep you where you at, and then we gonna reintroduce you once y'all know it's a safe environment. Y'all can tap y'all mask and y'all can do. For 6 days. They only gonna be in this for 6 days, which I'm like, 6 days? Dang, that's short. But these people have real lives. They have real families. And they like, this is a cute project. This is a cute reunion, girl. I can do this for a day or 2. But you know, girl, you know, let me be on something like that. We gonna be in it for a month. But you know, but Paramount got the budget. So I don't know why they didn't just bring the girls out for a month. but they're gonna give us a month content from these 6 days. I guarantee you that. He caught COVID, so he's talking to y'all from the screen. He's talking to the cast from the screen. They all hugging each other, they missing each other, they loving each other, catching up, and they're like, oh, and you on the screen. So girl, we really can't get no tea outside of the cameras because we can only talk to you from the camera. So I guess we have to talk when we done filming. But anyway, I thought that was like drama. One of my favorite moments of the first episode is Heather B comes out with a freaking suitcase of nothing but alcohol and wine. Like, all right, I got something for everybody. Rewinding back to it made me think of, she also brought stuff. She's very thoughtful. I like her. You know, I love me to my black people. But she says she brought something to drink for everybody. So I guess she knows what everybody likes to drink, what everybody get lit on. And then there's this guy, Eric, like I said. So he's been sober for 18 or so years, he said. And he shared. And he was slow down. He was one of the ones who I would say, I guess his fame really skyrocketed after the show. I don't really know these people. I didn't really do my deep dive research because, look, I'm a bystander with y'all. But he talked about how he was on like other MTV spinoffs. I think he was like on The Challenge or something, or Road Rules. It was originally called Road Rules before it was called The Challenge, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me, child. I'm not a history buff on reality TV just yet. But I'm gonna keep recapping and I'm gonna be one. But yeah, so he talked about like how, you know, I guess being in that life, you know, he was a model and an actor and then a personality girl, so he just cut up all in the tea, girl. So he got addicted to some things, and he talked about how he went through a journey and now he's sober. And she was like, I got you some I got you, don't worry about it, I got you some teas and everything like this, and I'm really mad you ain't come, because I had all this for you. So it was really nice to think that she had that on top of like, y'all, I kid you not, like, this big old chocolate bar, it was like, just nothing but alcohol. I don't know why I showed that, but the bag was that big and it was just big bottles. And then what I like too, they talked about like how years go by and they say, oh yeah, we gonna do this, but we never do. And I think that that's very relatable. And I think that if they didn't have Paramount and MTV creating this, they probably wouldn't have seen each other this long. Cause I graduated grad school from a cohort style program, and it was like, I want to say it was like 15 or so of us who came in together. And like, you know, we were in classes for 2 years and stuff like that. And it's one person for sure who I talk to weekly, low-key daily. You know who is, Ray. And then there's like a few other people who I talk to every now and again, who I consider my good Judies. They are my close friend stories, or we text every now and again. And then there's people who like, I don't dislike, I follow them on social media, I like they post, I keep it pushing. But like, if they were to say we're doing a reunion for the rap program, I'd be like, well, no, I definitely would want to go. But I would be like, I mean, if someone's not coordinating it outside of myself, I'm not going to be there. Because I don't really care that, but like, you know, I'm good where we at. So I think that that's how they was too. But I think it's very important to talk about like, y'all, we did this show 29, 30 years ago. And look at where it's at now. Because they started filming in January 2021. So I think that's why I think it really was legit for just that week, just those 6 days. But I think they might have some other stuff in the works and all that too. I really wish it was a little longer. I really wish I got to see more, but maybe there's good conversations to come. They talked about like, you know, life is short, and you know, when's the time we're gonna all come together and meet and stuff like that. Which is why I'm mad at Eric for being sick with COVID. Like, what was you doing in the hotel rooms, honey? Now, you might not be doing no drugs, you might be all sober and stuff now, but what you got going on to where you was contracted from COVID and the other girls weren't? Now, I just want to know that too. Also, watching the show, it was like watching like your parents or your aunties and them like at a class reunion. Like, they were so like, I love wholesome reality television. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good shade back and forth as long as it don't get too nasty and too ugly. I hate when we go too below the belt because, like, y'all, it's so many people watching us. So I love to see good, wholesome, like I said, just organic community. Like, we haven't seen each other, like, let's laugh, let's have a good time, let's turn up, let's have these conversations that we should have had, let's heal from some things that we probably pain and trauma and whatever that we probably didn't held on to since we were last in this house. Speaking on that, Kevin stayed on the girl's neck. So Kevin's the black guy. And he, I didn't know how to feel about him at first. When I first saw him, well, he was fine on the original season. But when I first saw him on this reunion, I was like, I don't know how I feel about you, sir. You look a little off to me. But I think he was down for the cause. I don't know him to know that. And my opinion don't matter either. He gonna still do what he do and collect his checks. But he definitely had like a lot of difficult conversations with these people, with these white people that they weren't ready to have it. Like some girl, Becky, Rebecca, she said something about like at the end of it, we're gonna, and I know this from watching the reunion show, and like they recapped it, not from watching the actual show, otherwise I give y'all more of that tea. But she was like, yeah, like we're all gonna be on this earth, or the earth's gonna be here long ago, or something like that. The land's gonna be here from long ago. And he was like, stolen land from Indians, correct? Like, indigenous folks. And I'm like, ooh, girl, we collected the girls in 1992, which, I mean, I guess that's not unheard of. Like, if you come from like these super educated backgrounds, like, girl, I'm from Southeast Texas. And even Texas, like, I really didn't start really getting into more of that, like, acknowledgement of, like, the stolen land that we're living on, that I'm recording this video on, until grad school, where they brought it up so much and it was commonplace. Like, I knew, of course, child, I'm not dumb. Let me say that, too. I'm not dumb. I knew that we were on stolen land, but no one ever acknowledged it. So the fact that he clapped her real quick, it was like, so the land's stolen from the Indians. And, like, just having conversations like, oh, my goodness, him and Julie was at each other's necks often, because Julie, she was 19 years old originally on the show, and she was like, racism isn't like a real thing. Like, what do you mean? She didn't say that, but she's from Birmingham, Alabama, but she would say things like, why does everything have to be about race? Why are you so angry and stuff like that? And like, it's just like they really played this man up to be the angry black man, because he was capping on them and getting them together, rightfully so. So I think that's like I have real props for Kevin, and I really want to see, Heather, my girl, but I really want to see what was she like during all of these attacks. And she made a statement, or a quote. Let me actually go to it. And she was like, go to it, girl. I wrote down. She's like, Kevin wasn't wrong. Everything he was saying, I didn't, really want to deal with it. I was like, why Kevin don't want to be here, man? We chilling. But I had to really live to appreciate and understand that everything he was saying, fast forward, where's the lie? And I'm like, one, thank you for the acknowledgement that, like, you probably didn't really have his back then. And, like, I'm just like, that's sad. Like, I don't remember how old he was. Like, they were all in their early 20s. So, like, damn, you're in this house with 6 strangers, and then, you here with somebody who looked like you, which is the problem. We only cast 2 black people. But, like, and I get it. I don't know necessarily Heather's background either. And, like, she definitely was black, child. She was definitely down for the cause. I'm not saying nothing, no salt or nothing on her name. But she probably was like, I don't really, all these types of conversations. Like, girl, like, she was a rapper. That was her bag that she was in. He was an educator. He worked at a school and the after school program and stuff like that. Like, he talked about how he did protests, and he, did all these, all these things in the olden days, and probably still now or whatever. So the pre-Black Lives Matter movement before it became what it is now. And so, like, really props to you, Kev, for, like, standing in your truth and standing strong, because there's even girls today, in 2021, 2020 on these reality shows that can't. Child, I don't know these people. Let me stop it. I'm trying to grow, and then I stop my bag. There's a lot of people who still are afraid to have those difficult conversations, who still are afraid to hold white people accountable. And I like how he said, like, back then his main focus was race, but now he's thinking about, like, problems with sexism and just, like, he didn't say homophobia, but, like, girl, I'm sure if he was, unless he was one of the girls too. I don't know. I ain't watched the season. I don't know how this season gonna roll out. I don't know their personal lives. I didn't stalk them as much on social media, so I'm just as fresh with this as y'all are, if y'all are fresh with it. If y'all not, leave some comments. Let me know how these girls been. I don't like how they made Kevin out to be the antagonist as a black man, and, like, I think that, like, that sort of made a trope just for black people in general, to hold privilege, accountable, that they make them out. What Nicki Minaj say? So now I'm the bad guy. All right, Chun-Li. So it's like, you know, they really painted him out to be the bad guy. And he wore that well, child. But it's just, it sucks. But he wasn't wrong. Kevin wasn't wrong. Like my girl Heather said. And like, it was interesting to see like everyone's reactions too. Because everyone was like, girl, yeah, like, you know, like, I think people were sort of like, whatever. I don't know. I wasn't, you know, just how it was edited, girl. But like, you know, I guess the girls was like, yeah, like, sure. And she was like, fast forward, look at us now. Like, these still are problems. So, going back to Julie, so him and Julie, like I said, was at each other's necks. Like, oil vinegar, child. Like, Julie was definitely, in my opinion, the epitome of, and you know, I worked in college, so like the epitome of like that white girl that come from like a super like, which her daddy was racist as hell. She knew her daddy was racist as hell too. But anyway, came from this super like homogenous white whatever background, and like it's very uncomfortable with talking about race because like, dang, I might actually be a racist because I actually do believe in some of these things. But like, I feel uncomfortable. You're making me uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about this. So let me attack you. And like, are you gonna hit me? And he was like, why do you think I'm gonna hit you? Meanwhile, she over here getting violent to him. Get the hell away from me. But she was the golden girl who y'all chose to follow the season on. No, and I'm also curious. So Kevin and Julie's daughter had a conversation, and Julie's daughter was like, you know, she's a part of like a civil rights or civil activist, whatever, organization at her high school, and she's going to be a senior. And she talks about like how, you know, talking about like, you know, which I think is pretty awesome too. Like, you know, like, I mean, I'm not about to commend you. Good that that's what you're doing, especially at a young age. Because I was in the NAACP. I was the vice president. And I was doing all the stuff in the community, but I didn't really think of it in that way. So I think it is great that, like, you know, Julie, I guess, is learning lessons and like making sure her children don't make the same mistakes that she made, and like making sure they're not as uneducated as she was. But I think it was just interesting that they had them have that conversation. They like filmed it, and like, it's just really weird, especially if like Kevin and Julie don't really click. And like, you know, which of course, like, you know, I'm grown. I'm not about to beef with no child. And he was like, you know, I think it's so weird. Like, it's so interesting that like I met your mom when she was a teenager, and now I'm talking with you and like seeing where y'all are at. He probably was like, yeah, your mom was problematic as hell, girl. Don't be like her. And I hope you're not like her. And I hope you're not out here abusing and hurting and oppressing folks in these organizations that you in either. Like I was saying about Kevin and Julie having arguments about white people and stuff like that. And him and it showed like a playback. So after that conversation, it showed the playback of Kevin, like, you know, beefing with all the girls, like all the white girls, and just like all of their conversations, and they weren't really listening, and they weren't really trying to have, like I said, with Becky and the stolen land, and just like, does everything need to be about race? So going into the trailer for the rest, before I get to that, yeah, I hope the people hella embarrassed, and I hope that everybody on that show in production apologized to Kevin for whatever hard time they put him through. Granted, I don't know. Kevin can be like this blaring sexist, homophobe, misogynist type of whatever. But what he was saying about the black people and the other marginalized folks wasn't wrong at that time. And they alienated, and I didn't like how they treated him. So he definitely deserves an apology for that. Now, whatever other harm or whatever impact that might have happened and occurred over time, child, I don't know. My friend baby named Bennett, so I ain't in it. Shout out to my baby. The season trailer, they talk a little bit about like the accountability or whatever. You see a little bit more white tears. Becky says something like, I'm not here to be token for white privilege and stuff like that. But like, girl, y'all kind of are. It's like 5 white people, and like, I hope y'all talk about that too. Like, I hope y'all are talking about like how casting played a role into that, and like how y'all felt comfortable, and like, imagine how would it feel if it was just 2 white people. So it was just 2 of y'all. So if it was just Julie and Eric and a bunch of people of color, a bunch of black people first and foremost, a bunch of darker skinned type folks too. Because the black people they picked, I want to say Heather's like they brown, girl. They definitely brown, but they not me. But I want to know what's tea. I want to know what happened, and I think it's a very interesting show. I think it's a very interesting show. I'm very excited to dip into that dip stack of Real World. So I will be watching and doing my recap reviews weekly. Hopefully I get better at this editing stuff so I can like send out stuff quick. If y'all have any tips on how I can like edit things and like, you know, quality of these videos and stuff like that, please leave them below. If you like this video, please like this video, share, subscribe, comment, all those types of things. Engage with me. Hashtag Royal Key, hashtag King's List. I'm gonna try to, get more content out like this for y'all. Please let me know. I can get on a tangent, child. So the first time I recorded this video, this is my second take. The first time I recorded this video was like 8 minutes, and like I was feeling woozy. I was at work, so I was like, I'm gonna do this again after I rewatched the show because I was like, oh, I'm missing sort of gaps. So let me know if this was like too much. It's definitely gonna be spoiler heavy though, girl. I love a good spoiler. I have anxiety real bad. I can't watch nothing without sort of knowing how it goes. I mean, I can watch reality TV because it's real people, so it's like there's not much drama and whatever in there, but all these shows. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Let me know if I went on other tangents throughout and like just ways I can improve and feedback and stuff like that. So thank y'all. And have a royal week. Remember, you don't get crowned if you always back down. So don't.